Hello! Welcome to Comic Station number 58 for February the 5th, 2014. We are going to jump right in today with some Marvel now. Crazy Marvel
so
everything,
they're,
which is
they're just taking over everything.
Really exciting when I was looking through the boxes. And I'm going to start right off with Captain America number 1. We don't want to talk too much about these, just because we don't want to give any spoilers. There's so many of them. The only thing I'm going to say about this is Captain America is only in this, I think, for about 5 panels, maybe less. However, I highly suggest it. It is fantastic. The artwork in it reminds me of a little bit of the old Aeon Flux. Very dark, very gritty. And I'm not the biggest Captain America fan, but I think I could get into it.
The old anime Aeon Flux?
Yes.
Awesome. Love that.
What do you got?
My first one is Loki, Agent of Asgard, and this is probably no surprise because I love Thor, but I like this. This is remade Loki. It's him, quote-unquote, trying to redeem himself, but he's still kind of he's still got a mischief, but he's trying to be good about it, and I thought it was really funny. Some of the self-referential, there's one particular one that I just want to mention real quick, is Thor mentions how he made a slash on the internet, and Loki says, "You mean splash, but I kind of did the slash thing too." So if you get the reference, you'll enjoy that. If you don't know what slash is, by the way, don't look it up.
I have Miss Marvel number 1. This is really a new take on Miss Marvel. They haven't done like.
There was some controversy over this.
She's a young Pakistani girl living in Jersey City. Her family is very traditional, and she's trying to be normal, and she ends up being given the powers of Miss Marvel. Not really giving that away because you know that, but that is what happens at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good read. It's a good introduction for it. Nothing really too crazy happens yet. It just introduces this particular character.
As a fan of Miss Marvel, now Captain Marvel, should you be a fan of those before reading this, or is it
You don't have to be a fan of Miss Marvel previously. Any of the titles like that, you don't have to.
Okay.
This is it's new and fresh enough that you really don't have to be following anything previously.
Okay.
The next is X-Men Ghost number 1. This you probably should have some idea of, at least maybe who somebody is before you pick this up, mainly because there are so many characters jam-packed into this. A lot of characters, old school characters I was happy to see, new characters that were a lot of fun. You've got a lot of generations of X-Men packed into this.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed that because there were so many characters in this, that it still moved along quite nicely with it giving you a good idea of who each character was and really, capturing them without just kind of running it over, which number 1s tend to do a lot where they cram too much in and the storyline doesn't really flow, and there's just a bunch of stuff happening. There was a bunch of stuff happening in this, but there was a nice solid storyline. Villains, although they're kind of like supposed villains at this point, you're not too sure if they're going to end up villains or not. We've got Typhoid Mary in there. I was really excited to see her, along with Lady Deathstrike and a few others, and of course it wouldn't be complete without some old school Sentinels climbing up out of the ocean.
Jubilee and Shoujo, the future Iron Man. So, yeah, Brian Wood, it's X-Men number 10, but Brian Wood has done a fabulous job, and it's mostly female.
Yeah, I would say that it's very female heavy.
Yes,
there's a couple dudes in there.
This is a perfect example of it doesn't matter what your cast gender is as long as you have a strong cast. So, that's in my pull box. Another Marvel Now title is The Punisher, and this one, obviously it's The Punisher, so you're going to have some maiming and some gunshots up close and so forth. I thought the artwork was a little strong in the beginning and kind of weakened as it went on, but that was probably the environment. It went from more swamp to more urban, and I thought it was a good start, although Punisher hasn't always been my favorite, so I can't speak to it too much. But Marvel now has done a great job with all these characters, so if you like the Punisher, go check that one out.
I have Joker's Daughter, #1. You might have wanted to pick up the other Joker's Daughter that they did for the Villain Month takeover. So you might have wanted to pick up that, as well as maybe some of the Catwoman comics that she was in. But you don't really need to. You can still pick it up. It is basically giving a good introduction to her character. She ends up, she's basically soul searching. She's looking for her daddy, but it's all really kind of just her trying to find herself. And
very demented looking.
It gives you a pretty decent like in her psychology. You get to see a good portion of her psychology in this.
That's pretty cool.
It's good. I like it. I do enjoy this artwork. I enjoy her cats. And
I have Wolverine #1. I mean, it's Wolverine. It's Wolverine. It was still enjoyable. It wasn't overdone. Wolverine's human in this. He's kind of trying to figure out how to go, go about being who Wolverine is. He's got some fancy new armor, and yeah, that's about that.
He has a gun, so...
Yes, he also has a gun.
Okay. And now that we're off the Marvel, we have Grimm Fairy Tales Ascension from Zenescope. Now this one is following the events of the Unleashed, where essentially the old gods are dead and the new gods are coming. So the villain of the old one, not to spoil anything, spoilers, killed the old gods, and now he's taking over their positions. But there's a little somebody playing a double agent in here, so there's a little bit going on in that. And I thought the artwork was solid, solid Zenescope throughout the entire thing, and it's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what new happens in the world. Grimm Fairy Tales does a great, and Zenescope does a great job of creating a key mark title and then having all the branching titles, and they all converge and intertwine really well.
I have Archer and Armstrong #0. It says at last the secret origin revealed, so it is giving the origin story, which it looks pretty cool. I didn't get a chance to really read through it. It is going through his childhood and gives like a main story from his childhood. So it's pretty good. If you follow this title, you probably should pick it up.
Pretty popular title.
Yeah.
I've got for my last one, this is actually #2. It's the Twilight Zone from Dynamite. Had to pick this up because I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. So part of me really wanted to hate this really badly. Part of me really wanted to just be a troll about this, and then I started reading it, and I can't. It's kind of got a lot of the best things about comics mixed into the best things about Twilight Zone. The writing was very Twilight Zone. The plot line goes along in a very Twilight Zone way, but there's a little bit more action in there for you as a comic book fan. It flowed really nicely. The artwork really didn't sway me either way. It wasn't really great, wasn't really bad. But straightforward, I think, as usual, they're doing really nice work with these titles. So, thanks for this.
Yeah, Straczynski has done, he's a really good writer. He's done some other smaller titles for Dark Horse and so forth, and he's always been a strong writer.
Yeah, he really does it justice.
Something like Twilight Zone really needs that strong writing. Maybe it doesn't need it as much, but this is Dynamite's comics, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter. If you're like me and you grew up and you played the N64 and everything and really liked Turok, you'll recognize this title. If you don't, essentially it's Native American Indians, there's dinosaurs, it's the Christian Crusades. What if they had come like 300 years earlier but brought dinosaurs with them as kind of weapons and used them to take over the New World? And this is the Native American fighting back, and there's some mysticism and all this stuff. So it's interesting. This is issue #1 is more of a setup. It really goes in more of the background of Turok, how he was always a little bit more of an outsider. He's always been craftier, and just sets the stage for who Turok is in this world before this world gets turned upside down.
And Robocop. That's
Ooh.
really all you need to know about it.
That's all you need to know.
It's Robocop. I can't really say too much more about it. I didn't read it. I do think that it looks good, and if you like Robocop as much as my brother does, you'll probably want to read this.
Yeah, the artwork is pretty good in there, so Boone does a good job on those, at least. Finally, for our statue, we have the Game of Thrones mini throne. This is not the giant one. This is a much more,
Well, you
petite.
can sit your fingers in
yeah, this is a little bit more manageable.
Maybe your
let's
Star
say.
Wars figures might fit in there.
Actually, oh, that would be awesome if you got the old G.I. Joes. I have a whole bunch of, you could probably sit them.
They'll fit in there too.
it. They're some of the only ones that will fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I just thought
if you just want a nice
I
little
went on
mini
a tangent
throne,
here. Yeah, and of course it has, in the back it has the Game of Thrones moniker across the back, and on the bottom it has the whole HBO Dark Horse exclusive, so forth. Official replica, 7-inch, so forth.
no, you know exactly how tiny it is.
Yep, but I do like the details. You see all the handles for the swords and all the blades interlocking, so it's good details on here, although the front is a lot more detailed, obviously, than the back. So it did lose a little bit of detail in there. But otherwise, really nice and a lot more manageable than that giant one that tends to snap the tops. So, yeah, and you could always put your old G.I. Joes in there. Double bonus. So next we have our reviews. Lido did a whole bunch of them, but we're only going to hit a few of them, but highlight. For the first review, we have Captain Midnight, Volume Number 1, trade paperback. This is from Dark Horse Comics. It is, to sum it up, since there's so many of these, Captain Midnight was a very good example of a fun comic. Fun comic.
Fun. Lobster Johnson, get the Lobster number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Leo says is a must-read for Lobster fans, and he's a pulpy superhero action hero, so it's a good read for if you're a fan of that.
He also read Apocalypse AI number 1. Said that the art was generally good, the character is great, and there's some flubs and hiccups, so that it equals okay.
Yeah, essentially it just evens out. And of course, there were so many titles that you can see all these reviews in their entirety, plus Conan, Terminator, Baltimore, Conan, and more Conan, all on frontwardsgamer.com.
Doesn't he hate Conan?
And those are some of the best reviews.
Okay.
I think he has a love-hate relationship with Conan.
I think he really, really loves to hate it, and it shines. I love reading them. So, read all of his reviews on frontwardsgamer.com, as well as, obviously, we have this video with the article listing everything on Front Towards Gamer as well. Thank you for watching Comic Station issue number 58. We will see you next week.
Yep.